The following is a presentation of the Matt Talk Podcast Network.
The mind of Pat Popolizio is a wondrous thing. And for you Pac wrestling fans, you'll get to go inside the mind of the Skip each and every episode here on the Pac Mentality Pop-Ins podcast. Now, here's your host, NC State Director of Athletics Digital Communications, Brian Reinhardt.
Welcome back, NC State wrestling fans, to the latest episode of the Pac Mentality Pop-Ins podcast, the only NC State Athletics produced podcast and one of only a handful of podcasts nationally devoted solely to covering a specific Division I wrestling program. I'm your host, NC State Director of Athletics Digital Communications, Brian Reinhardt, and as always, I'm joined by the head coach of the Wolfpack wrestling team, Pat Popolizio.
Good afternoon, Brian. Doing good?
Pat, great to have you back. Looking at the calendar and thinking of when to put out this podcast, this time right now really popped up as an exciting time in your season. We're 9 duels in, had a couple of tournaments, and just gearing up for the start of ACC duels, which really are not that far away. But this weekend in particular stood out to me when the schedule came out. One of your toughest road duels of the season followed 2 days later by a very good tournament in Reno. This is a big weekend for Wolfpack wrestling. Would you agree?
Yeah, no doubt about that. It's been a busy couple weeks, a lot of traveling, guys finishing up with finals, and like you said, a big week ahead of us. A lot of great competition we're going to see, so we're looking forward to this weekend in general.
Well, we'll get to all that in a little bit, as well as talking about this week's guest, but a little housekeeping first. If you have not done so already, please go in and subscribe to this podcast. It's as easy as searching Pac Mentality wherever you get all of your podcasts, whether it's iTunes, Stitcher, Google Music Play, so many different avenues to get Wolfpack wrestling news. And we appreciate all of our fans out there that do listen. So please subscribe, and each episode will automatically be downloaded for you. And Pat, I think that's a key thing. I showed you how to download it on your phone the other day. You're all hooked up with it yourself.
Yeah, I think if I can figure this out, I think a lot of people have no problem doing this. So it's good. Technology these days is very beneficial.
If you are a listener on iTunes, go over and leave us a rating and review. In just a couple of months of doing this podcast, we've already gotten more ratings than other podcasts that cover NC State athletics. This is very important to us to have our fans show their appreciation for the work that we put into this. It's certainly noticed by the administration here at NC State. In this week's special shout-out segment, we would like to give a thank you to iTunes subscriber Paul Pettingill, who left us a great review on iTunes.
We might have to send him a shirt for that one.
You know, I was just going to mention, I was going to go down and look at our gear. I think we're going to have to do some giveaways here.
Definitely.
Pretty soon.
We got plenty to give away. Let's get the numbers up.
Everybody is always asking how to get Pac Mentality gear. So we're going to have to look into that coming up here. But please follow his lead and leave a review and a rating on iTunes for the Pac Mentality Pop-Ins podcast. All right, that's enough housekeeping. Back to this episode. We're going to review the last few duels, have an extended preview of Friday night's duel at Nebraska. Then in the guest portion, we're going to talk about team travel and just what goes into moving the NC State wrestling team from Raleigh to Lincoln to Reno and back to Raleigh before breaking for the holidays. So, Pat, I threatened last week that this would be a very long episode. We have even more to cover today, so I hope you're ready. I know you have your workout planned for later today, so if you're ready, let's start rolling.
Looking forward to it.
We last talked before the ODU duel back on November 30th. Since that time, you guys have picked up 3 more duel wins to improve to 9-0. First, we started with a 25-15 home win over to ODU, then a 41 to actually -1 win over Chattanooga and Charlotte. And just the past weekend, it was 34-3 road win at App State. Your assessment of the last couple weeks of the season here?
It's been good. You know, it's the last couple weeks have been about adjusting and figuring out who's going to be our starting weight classes. Obviously made some changes since Old Dominion. I think wasn't obviously our best performance. Hats off to Old Dominion, the way they competed and came in here. Was a little disappointed in how we finished out some matches, so we went back, covered some things in the room, talked to the guys a little bit, and I like where our lineup's at right now with the guys that we have and the way that they're competing. Obviously, we got to continue to get better. So, I think having Tariq and Bo in the lineup definitely changed some things as far as momentum goes in these dual meets. So I was excited and happy to see that. I don't know if we want to get into every duel that we went through, but.
Well, I got some impressive numbers here, so I think that's a good way to talk.
You're all about stats.
So I am a stat
think people
geek.
appreciate the stats.
I roll in numbers all day, every day. But during this most recent span, you guys were in Raleigh, then in Charlotte, then in Boone. From an outsider like myself, high school wrestling in the state of North Carolina has really grown and improved the last few years. You yourself have a pair of NCAA qualifiers from the state in Michael Machiavello, I nailed it that time, and Malik McDonald. How important is it for you to get eyes on the program and going across the state like you have been the last few weeks?
That's big. That is one of our goals here at NC State, is to continue to build and help at the youth level, the middle school, high school, even our post-college guys now. So I think there's a lot of resources to be had, not just here at NC State, but with all the other universities in the state itself. And more and more people are utilizing that, and I think it's having a direct effect on all levels in the state. And there's a lot of great former college wrestlers that live in the state of North Carolina that are giving back now. And I think that's, when you look at some of the better states in the country, that's a huge part of it, is these guys tying their roots in to the state and helping develop and, not only being good coaches for high school kids, but also maybe helping some high school coaches that lack some experience over, wherever they're at in their career. And these guys can be a good resource. Because I know you got guys like Sam Spino, who's coaching now locally, and Mike Kasoy, and there's a couple other guys that are running clinics here and there, and our club's starting to take off here at NC State, so it's definitely having an impact.
Spino, I've heard of that guy. I think he's got a local business.
I think he's an official sponsor for our podcast, Spino Lawn Care.
We're going to get him as an official sponsor one of these days. He started with the Wolfpack Open, Matt sponsorship. We're going to bump him up now, hopefully get him on the podcast.
Official sponsor, yeah.
But just some impressive stats I came up with once again. The 9-0 start is the second best in school history. You guys are ranked number 6 nationally for the 4th straight week. Top 10 last 31 polls. 6 wrestlers ranked in the top 20 by Intermat, 4 in the top 10. This season, NC State has won 76 of the 90 dual matches this year. To me, even more impressive, 53 of those wins have been for bonus points. So on past podcasts, you talked about the work in the summer on top and score points. Now that we're in the heart of the dual season, how important is it to you to have multiple wrestlers be able to go out there, score bonus points, especially when facing these ranked opponents?
Yeah, that is, these numbers are very impressive, and I appreciate you taking the time to look these all up and follow this. I think that's big to know. It gives these guys something to go after. And it's the work that these guys have been putting in to get these kind of results and numbers. Our staff has been working extremely hard, and the guys themselves, it makes our jobs much more enjoyable when you come into a group that's motivated like this, that wants to continue to get better. But we know ultimately to accomplish our ultimate goal, we're going to have to score bonus points, whether it's the ACC tournament or the NCAA tournament, because those points add up pretty quick. And we have guys now in position that when they do go out and wrestle, they can score these bonus points. Obviously, in dual meets, it has a major impact as well. But our main focus right now is to how do we put this all together come March. And this is something that we all agree, even the guys on the team, that, to ultimately accomplish our goal, we're going to have to go out there and in the early rounds of the NCAA tournament and not just win, but go out and try to get majors, techs, and pins.
So moving forward to this busy weekend of action, first, NC State travels to Lincoln, Nebraska for a Friday night duel against the 12th-ranked Cornhuskers. Then we'll continue on to Reno and compete in the Arena Tournament of Champions on Sunday. This will be a busy weekend for you guys. What was the thought process in scheduling a top 25 road duel, then go into a tournament 2 days later?
If you look at the national tournament, you're weighing in 3 days in a row. Obviously, we're not doing back-to-back weigh-ins like that, but I like the setup. Friday night, we're wrestling in a duel, and Sunday morning, we're up early weighing in. So we kind of have, that weekend. Guys still have to keep their weight in check that Saturday. So it's gonna make them keep their weight down and be disciplined, and kind of get that feel of what it's like to have your weight down close to scratch weight for 3 days. So that's really what we were looking for. The dual meet itself with Nebraska, great atmosphere out there. Wrestling is obviously I think their history speaks for itself on how good of a job that Coach Manning's been doing and the rest of his staff. So we're looking forward because they get a rowdy crowd out there. Our guys need that. It was a good test for us this past week in App State. Phenomenal crowd that they had over there, and our guys responded well. It's tough when you're on the road and you get a little bit of, I guess the fans get on you, and you want to see how you guys respond to that. If they get motivated or if it scares them and it rattles them, and our guys all stepped up to the challenge, and we're going to have to even do more of that going into Lincoln, Nebraska, because I can tell you it's going to be a very enjoyable atmosphere on the road over there.
App State was a great crowd, almost standing room only. And you mentioned the crowd got on the guys. I think the crowd got on you a little bit too. I
didn't hear anything. I was in the zone like the guys.
That's impressive that you could tune out all of those boos.
Yeah,
that were thrown at you.
I thought they were cheering, actually.
I think they were saying Pat.
Yeah, that's right. We'll go with that.
This will be the fourth straight season NC State and Nebraska have faced off in a duel. Is there any kind of connection between the two teams or coaching staffs?
No, I think it's one of those where, you got a program that's year in, year out, doing a great job, and we're fortunate enough to get them on our schedule. I think it's great being able to get out of conference competition. Nebraska's a perfect fit for us because they got across the board always good guys, and they're constantly producing national champs and All-Americans, and those are, for us, we need to see that throughout the year at different times. And if you look right now, our two biggest duels coming up are two programs, Nebraska, and then obviously when we come back from break, Oklahoma State. So we wanted that. We wanted a mid-year test, and then obviously we'll be tested all the way out through as we get into ACCs, but we wanted a good mid-year test, non-conference competition, and that's exactly what we're going to get.
Each of the last three meetings between the Wolfpack and Cornhuskers have been quite entertaining and maybe a bit of a rarity. The road team has won each time. In 2015, Nebraska won in Reynolds 16-15 despite NC State winning the last two bouts. In 2016, you guys picked up a 19-15 road win after winning two of the final three. And last year, Nebraska came away with the 22-10 win. The duel was tied 7-7 after four, but Nebraska really had some studs up and won 5 of the final 6. So Nebraska is just one of those elite teams from the Big Ten. They have 17 straight top 25 finishes, 3 straight in the top 10. They come in ranked 12th in the country. Throwing the tough road crowd in on paper, this is one heck of a tough matchup for NC State. No doubt about it. I mean, we got to be bringing our A game and our intensity to this dual meet. So, we're hoping we can just, like you said, follow through with the road team winning. That's the goal. But, it's going to be a tall order. And I'm excited to see how our guys step up to the challenge, because across the board, I think every one of our guys is going to be tested in one way or another. And that's what we want going out there is travel, get on an airplane, and be in a different environment and kind of get used to what you're going to see at the end of the year when we travel for the national tournament. And this is no different. And I'm sure we're going to, you look back to the NCAA tournament last year, we ran into a couple of Nebraska guys. So same kind of thing. So it won't be probably the last time some of these guys see each other. Like you said, the Wolfpack will be looking to make it 4 straight matchups in the series where the road team has won. A very good stat I came across today. Over the last 3 years, NC State is 6-1 against ranked foes in duels outside of Raleigh. Do you think some of the wrestlers enjoy competing on the road in tough environments where the crowd isn't necessarily on your side?
We talked a little bit about that at the App State duel, because it was actually a fun atmosphere to be in, and I think our guys like that a little bit. As crazy as it sounds, I know a lot of them did enjoy that atmosphere. It gets them excited and fired up. I think if you can funnel and channel that energy that you get in your emotions the right way, it can be very beneficial. And our guys do a good job with that. I think we have, you look at our leadership we have in our team, they've been in some tough environments. A lot of these guys, when we were wrestling in the NWCA duels, we went out to Iowa. A lot of these guys have experience there. It's a tough place to wrestle, Oklahoma State. So we've been there, we've done it, and we got great crowds here. It's a little different at home, and a lot of these guys have wrestled in that Nebraska duel a couple years ago, so they know what to expect, and I'm just excited to see how these guys respond.
So going through some of the specific matchups in this duels, if we start at the lower weights, well, first, I guess, let me ask you, pulling back the curtain a little bit, for those that don't know, how is it determined at what weight a duel will start at?
Coaches have the option to draw So depending on the situation, there's no, I guess, real strategy behind it, but you have the option to draw. And it just depends if one coach wants to draw, that's what you do. So sometimes you'll see it just start at 25. I know last year when we wrestled UNC, we both agreed to start at 149. So, that premier match could end at the duel. And sometimes you do that. And maybe hopefully we can do that on the road at some of these duels that we're in, because there's going to be some good matchups. I think, we'll see where things play out with Nebraska. But, yeah, there's no rhyme or reason behind it.
So I was going to say, maybe for you guys in particular, it sometimes depend on matchups. Sometimes you just want to roll out.
Yeah, and there's some strategy behind it. I guess sometimes, if you want to make sure you see a match, because there could be a chance where you're not going to see that match if it was the last dual meet of the, maybe it was the last match of the dual meet and there's a chance that they could throw somebody else out there and you want to make them wrestle that guy. You could start on a draw. I think there's some strategy behind that. But at the end of the day, we want our 10 best guys out there, and I'm sure, the teams you're competing against want their 10 best guys, and that's what makes dual meets exciting.
So going back to those first two matchups at 125 and 133, we have 4 wrestlers for the two teams who are all stepping into the lineup as first-year starters. For NC State, sophomore Tommy Cox has recorded back-to-back pins each of the last 2 duels, while at 133, redshirt freshman Tariq Wilson has lately been given the opportunity to become the starter. Those two matchups will not feature any ranked wrestlers, but those two matchups are pretty important team points.
Yeah, I like where we're at. Tommy Cox has been getting some very valuable experience while Sean is making, his way into our lineup. So I think it's been valuable for Tommy and then our team, because I see him with a very bright future down at 125 for us long term. So this is important that he continues to grow and gets better. It's fun to watch him and his growth that he's done as a person, as an athlete. I think the Old Dominion one was a letdown for him. Not that he lost, but I think he was not happy with the way that things played out, and that motivated him. Got a little banged up in that match and had to wrestle through some minor injuries, and now he's back to being healthy and looking good, and I like his fight that he puts out there. Tariq Wilson, I think as week to week, I think he's going to improve tremendously, and the experiences that he's getting right now is very valuable to him and our team, because he scores points. He's fun to watch. He can score at basically any position, and his defense is some of the best I've seen for a freshman out there competing. And I like his attitude, his mentality. He's a winner. He's always been a winner, and he's a true competitor. And as we get on some of these road trips and wrestle some higher level competition, I'm confident a guy like Tariq's going to elevate his game as well.
So moving on to 141, it will be the first of 2 matchups with 2 top 10 opponents and the first of 4 ranked matchups overall. Senior Kevin Jack will be looking to record his 100th career win at NC State. He's 7-0 this year, ranked number 2 in every poll, and dating back to last season has won 40 of his last 41 matches. His opponent will be redshirt freshman Chad Redd, who is ranked number 8 this week. Coming out of high school, Redd was the number 5 pound-for-pound wrestler nationally, putting together a career high school record of 183-0. Kevin's 2-0 against ranked foes this year, but this will be his highest-ranked opponent he has faced so far.
Yeah, good test for Kevin. I think, as those rankings speak for themselves. You got a freshman that's very talented, having a great year, so we got to be ready for that kind of match. And, I think it's the experiences that Kevin's had in his career right now. I think that's something he's got to use to his advantage, going out there and wrestling. And that's one of the matches I know we're really looking forward to seeing, and getting that true test, because ultimately all these matches are really just to continue to get us better and let us know things we need to work on. So we'll let things fly with those two, but I think you're going to see a pretty high scoring match between those two guys, and a lot of good wrestling between those two guys.
149 features another ranked matchup, as number 18 redshirt senior Bo Donahue will face number 8 senior Colton McChrystal. Just like Wilson at 133, Donahue's been given that chance the last couple of weeks to earn that starting spot at 149. He's 8-1 on the year and 4-0 in duels. McChrystal has seen plenty of action against NC State in the past and was an NCAA qualifier at 141 last year. Bo has been consistent in scoring team points for you guys this year, but this is an opportunity for him to get a great signature win.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something he's got to take advantage of, getting these opportunities to wrestle ranked guys. He's got to go out and be offensive and be confident. And like you said, we are familiar with McChrystal. I think Kevin wrestled him last year, and another tough guy across the board. I know their lineup is stacked all the way up. So, Bo should be excited for this matchup to continue to improve and get better. And I like where he's at because Bo, you can't forget, Bo's been in our lineup starting for us in the past and gotten quite a bit of experience last year, splitting some time with Spino. So he's definitely no stranger to these kind of duels. And he actually, I think, wrestled for us when we were out at Nebraska 2 years ago. So he's familiar, and this will be good. This will be a good test for him.
Speaking of Bo, he's graduating this semester, but will actually be missing the graduation ceremony because it's the same day as the Nebraska duel. Bo will earn his undergrad degree from NC State in business administration with a concentration in information technology, and that just sounds like something that takes some work in the classroom. Your goal as a coach is to have every student athlete leave here with the degree in hand. How proud are you of Bo's work?
Very. I think you look at him when he came in here at NC State and the growth and development that he's done as an athlete and a person off the mat. I think his future is going to be very bright when he gets in the real world and starts working. He's going to definitely bring some great stuff to wherever it ends up in the job field. So I'm proud of him, and he's been a great student athlete for us and represented our program with top notch and coming from a great family that's been very supportive of us. I think that speaks volume for him and his family, and we appreciate everything he's done for us.
Sounds like another potential mat sponsor come next fall. We'll hit him up over the summer.
Definitely.
We'll wait for him to get that job first. Going up to 157, this will be the third straight ranked matchup. Redshirt freshman Hayden Hidley, who's now ranked in the top 20 in every poll. He checks in at number 16 in Intermat, number 11 in Flow. He's also just named the ACC's Wrestler of the Week.
That's great.
Perfect 7-0 this year, and he's scoring bonus points in duels. He'll be facing number 7 junior Tyler Berger, an All-American last year who placed 5th. Hayden hasn't faced a ranked opponent yet this year, so this is certainly a big opportunity to keep climbing up in those rankings with a win for him.
Yeah, and, it's one of those matches where we got to be fired up and excited to go out and compete and see where we're at. This is a great test. You get a chance to wrestle a returning All-American. I mean, it'll let you know where you stand. So it's one of those. You just continue to do what he's been doing, and I think he'll be in a good spot. But yeah, he's got a tall order on Friday night. But it's the same thing. I think when we looked at this duel, that was one of the matches. We want to see where we're at, and that's kind of why. And they got the same thing on some other weights against us. You get to see where you're at and test, and continue to prepare yourself for the end of the year. And that's what these dual meets are about right now, and putting on a good show for the people that are going to be watching. So I think that's going to be one of those matches you're going to see a lot of action again. That's not going to be a boring, stand around type match. I think all these matches are going to be very high scoring, very entertaining, and that's what makes good dual meets, and that's what this entire duel is going to be about.
We're going to jump up to 184. This is a matchup that just a few weeks ago might not have stood out, but now it features a pair of top 10 wrestlers. Redshirt senior Pete Renda remains undefeated and is ranked 3rd nationally. And there might not have been a hotter wrestler in the month of December so far than Nebraska's redshirt freshman Taylor Vence. Yeah. He went from unranked to number 6 in the country after placing 3rd at Cliff Kine. And out there, he defeated 4 top 12 foes, excuse me. So he kind of mirrored Pete. Pete had that run in the NCAAs, but Pete was not happy about his match at App State. How much do you think he's looking forward to getting back out there and facing a high-ranked opponent?
Yeah, this is, coming back, we got things taken care of. Pete was a little under the weather. It was one of those where we had to make a decision whether he was going to wrestle or not. We left it up to him, and I'm glad he did, because I think, something we talked about is if you go into the NCAA tournament and you're not feeling good, you got to find a way to win. And he sucked it up. It was not pretty by any means, but I think that's what, when you're a 5th-year senior, you know where you stand and what you got to do, and that this is just part of the process. And Pete's gonna be fine. He's a competitor, and he's obviously one of the best kids we've had here at NC State in the history of the program, with his wins and just technically how good he is. So, yeah, this is gonna be I think this is one of those matches too, on both sides. I'm sure they're excited to get an opportunity to wrestle Pete, and he's proven big wins in Vegas. I mean, that speaks for itself right there. So we got to be ready to wrestle that match. I think we got a chance to wrestle in the summer with Breen in some freestyle competition, and he wrestles hard, he's tough, and it'll be fun because I think that's, again, one of those matches where it's going to be very high scoring and a lot of great mat wrestling. So let's let it fly and let's see where things play out. But I like our experiences that we have and the way Pete can score points. So I expect that to be a very high scoring match and a fun one for people to watch. And I think you said it best. Pete wasn't happy with his performance last week, and it gives him some motivation this week to jump right back on where he needs to be and put himself in a good spot here moving forward.
And at the two upper weights, Nebraska is replacing an All-American at 197 and an NCAA qualifier at 285 with a redshirt freshman and a sophomore. You guys are going to counter with number 7 redshirt senior Michael Macchiavello and redshirt junior Malik McDonald, both NCAA qualifiers with a lot of matches under their belt. So if we go in order and start at 25, these two matchups could once again determine the duel for the third time in the last 4 years.
Good. Well, it's putting a little added pressure on Mock then, right? If we play this out, it's good. I like where we're at. Mock's mentally tough. He's physical. He wrestles hard. He's a true competitor. He's been in very tough situations before, and no better way when you're closing out dual meets to throw a guy like that out there. He's a true warrior, and I'm looking forward to that. And I love watching him compete because of how passionate he is and how hard he works. I think anybody can see that when he's out there competing. So, yeah, this is I think a style where these guys both wrestle really hard, and same thing. There's going to be a lot of action in these upper weights as well. You look across the board at a lot of these weights, and we keep talking about it. They're going to be fun, entertaining, high scoring matches, and this is going to be no different.
So that will be Friday night, Lincoln, Nebraska. And then you guys head over to Reno and compete in the Reno Tournament Champions on Sunday. As of this recording, brackets were not out yet, but some of the teams scheduled to be there include number 3, Oklahoma State, number 4, Missouri, Stanford, Wyoming. How many of your guys will be competing that day? And this is shaping up to be quite an impressive lineup of teams if everybody wrestles their full squads.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of mixing and matching. Just kind of way these tournaments are over the break is, not everybody's going to be sending 100% of their lineup. We'll evaluate things as of Friday night, see where we're at. Our goal is to wrestle everybody. If we're in a good spot physically and mentally, we will. And we're going to actually take a bunch of extra guys. So try to get about 15 guys out there to Reno. Always a great tournament. It's a one-day tournament. There's a great high school tournament the day before, so we'll get to watch some of the kids that we're talking to and recruiting right now. So that's a win-win for us, and they're going to stick around and watch us compete. So definitely action-packed weekend of wrestling, but the Reno Tournament Champions is a great tournament, and looking forward. The best part about it is we'll see some competition that we don't typically get to see throughout the year, and that's kind of why we did this, changing it up from the Midlands and the Scuffle year to year, is because we wrestle a lot of the same teams, and you want that opportunity to run into as many guys as you can that you're not going to see at the national tournament.
I will say the Reno tournament has a lot of West Coast teams, and you guys don't get to see those too often.
No, and that's that was a big part of it.
Wolfpack fans, you'll be able to watch both events this weekend. The duel at Nebraska will be on the Big Ten Network and will also be streamed online. The Reno Tournament Champions will be streamed on Flow Wrestling on Sunday. And as always, live updates will be available on Twitter at PeckWrestle. So please give us a follow there for the most recent happenings with the NC State wrestling team. Pat, our guest this week is going to be NC State's Director of Operations, Melissa Simmons. We could have Melissa on for hours on this podcast going over her role and all she does for the program. But how would you best describe the work she does behind the scenes for you?
Relentless. I think she obviously, doesn't get the recognition she needs. She does so many things for our program that, she's obviously not out there in the limelight coaching like we're able to do. But if it wasn't for the stuff she was able to do with the administrative side of stuff and even mentoring some of the guys that are on our team, very valuable and relentless work ethic. And it's a huge part of why we're able to move forward in the way we have been, is because we're able to focus in on certain jobs and tasks, and she takes care of a lot of the busy work, and I guess keeps us all in check too at times, because she definitely is brings a lot to the table, and fits in well with the rest of our staff and is able to navigate through a lot of problems. And even when we're traveling, is very organized, detailed. And I think that's what makes a great organization, is when you have all those in play. And we're fortunate enough to have every bit of that with her behind the scenes doing this. So I'm very appreciative to it. And I know the guys and the rest of the staff is as well.
Are you appreciative of some of those passive-aggressive text or tweets that she sends?
Yeah, and I think it should be clear that that's like when you get these group texts, it's coming from Melissa through Arms. So I'm glad you cleared the air on that, because the guys think it's coming from me. But actually, we're going to go on the record now and let people know that's coming from Melissa. So
I will note she's not in the room right now.
Yeah, but I'm sure you're going to have to bring that up to her. So we'll see how she defends herself for that.
So, Pat, thanks once again for breaking down Wolfpack Wrestling. I can speak for many, and we are looking forward to this weekend's action. And now for this week's interview. I'm now joined by Director of Operations, Melissa Simmons. A little background on Melissa first. She's in her 4th season with the Wolfpack. And the best way, Melissa, for me to describe the Director of Operation role is there's no job description. You wear many different hats.
Yeah, that's correct. Many, 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 many.
We promise you'll elaborate a little bit more. This is a tough first interview. It's been a while since you've done any interviews.
I don't think I've done one here, honestly. I don't think. I've avoided Jason Bryant pretty successfully when he messages me, so.
Your sports information director has got to step up, apparently. But Melissa's a former national champion in Oklahoma City during her collegiate career. Originally from Washington, you've had 7 national titles and All-American honors competing as a youth. You earned your degree in kinesiology and exercise science. Now, I just messed that up, and I've asked you 20 times. What was the degree in again?
Kinesiology and exercise science.
So not even close. I majored in PR at West Virginia. What exactly was that major?
It was originally my game plan was to get my master's in prosthetics and orthotics and open up my own clinic, but then wrestling took over, like always. And then now I'm here doing operation stuff for the team.
So I'll start with, what led you at NC State back before the 2015 season?
I was coaching at Oklahoma City University. I kind of ended up there training there with Archie Randall. And then, I don't know, like come summertime, I wrestled for Gator Wrestling. So I knew Jameel and Obi before moving out here. And I got a text message randomly from a random phone number that ended up being Pat Popolizio asking if I was interested. And so Coach Randall always told me to explore all my options, and unfortunately for him, this one turned out well. And that's kind of how wrestling, Gator Wrestling used to be my sponsor, and Jameel was like, I think he was the finance guy for that.
So now going behind the scenes a little bit here, you're a little bit in uncharted waters. For those that don't know, we tape the Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast in Pat's office.
It's a lot of peas.
I was going to say located. That is a lot of peas. I haven't messed it up once yet till just then. We're on the first floor of Weisiger Brown. Lots of windows, lots of nice glass doors, but tell the listeners where your headquarters is.
I'm deep, deep in the caverns of WB. I'm in the wrestling room. There's not really cell phone service in there. It's just today, Pat had to answer a call and walk outside. But this year, going on 4 years, I got air conditioning in there, so that's huge. And I got an office phone, so I'm moving up. And I got a key to the break room, which not really many people have that.
I think you have to earn some stuff around here. So it only took you 4 years to earn that air conditioner.
Oh, it's amazing.
Since you're in the mat room, the day is pretty much filled with guys coming in, working out. Part of that's the music selection. Is there a wrestler or two whose music selection you just question?
Sam Malikian and Will Clark. No question. I actually go crazy, and I know, I can sit in my office and I know who is working out at the time just by the Pandora station playing. But Malikian and Will play Watermelon Crawl on repeat, and they work out in the morning, and it's only them in there, and that song is on repeat, and it makes me go absolutely insane.
Wakes you up in the morning.
I can't.
This week, just like every other road trip, has been extremely busy for you. A bit of a different travel week. The Pack will head out Thursday to Lincoln, Nebraska, and wrestle there Friday night. Then on Saturday, we head to Reno for Sunday's Tournament of Champions. How does scheduling flights, buses, hotels work for the team and work for you?
It's a complete mess. Pretty much my Google Sheet is my savior. For this particular trip, so we did Boone this past weekend, and we had a bus. And then we're going Thursday, traveling to Omaha, and then wrestling in Lincoln on Friday, and then going from Omaha to Reno on Saturday, wrestling in Reno on Sunday, and then returning on Monday. So kind of what I did for that, since it's 2 trips in one, I basically look at flight times that I want. Price factors into it, obviously, but we try to make the guys as comfortable as possible. So for this trip, I ended up doing several different flights. I did 2 one-ways on Southwest, Raleigh to Omaha, Omaha to Reno. And then our return trip's on a completely different airlines just because of time of the flight type of thing.
How many tweets are you going to send the airlines if anything gets messed up?
I can guarantee.
For those that don't follow Melissa on Twitter, you have to. She loves tweeting any little mess up.
Yes. We pay a lot of money, and this isn't my first rodeo. So my last little mishap with Southwest, I was like, the lady was not correct in the procedure of how I check in, or how you're supposed to check in groups with Southwest Airlines. So I don't think they want 29 people walking up to the counter to check only 5 bags. So I do it all, and yeah.
The frustration is still there.
It is.
And how many months ago was it? But,
it is. I'm just hoping I don't get her on Thursday morning at 6 a.m.
A couple of months into the season, do you have anybody that's still struggling and not has pack mentality when it comes to team travel?
Yes. I will call them out, like, no question.
Well, first of all, that's why we brought you here. We know you're not afraid to name the names.
Nick Reenan is actually safe because he's redshirting this year, but usually the Morrises, Michael Boykin, and the Bullards never turn in their gear on time. So, like, we check out their singlets and travel bags, and then they're supposed to turn it back in. And it's always, the last 2 trips, they've been good about it, but...
Improvement,
yes. Because I try to explain to them, it's not because I'm trying to be bossy and control them. It's like, hey, guys, Brad has to still wash all this stuff and turn it around, and we only have 3 days before we leave on our next trip. So,
but you realize, too, they might set the bar low so it can go up.
They're on their 4th year being here. I don't know. Bullards, I guess it's their 2nd year, 3rd year, but yeah.
How are roommates assigned for these road trips when you guys are staying overnight?
Usually I room them with whoever, they mesh well with. There's some individuals that I don't think anybody particularly likes to room with because they snore or they watch TV loudly. Or sometimes, if I have, I don't know how to put it on this podcast.
PG podcast.
I know, PG podcast. So I have this saying, and I tell them, if you're going to act 5, I'll act 4. And it's my passive aggressive way. I know, like, I don't do it with, like, the starters on, like, major trips, or sometimes I room them with some individuals that they would prefer not to room with. Not that they dislike them, but
So if someone gets on your bad side, they're getting a bad room. It depends what mood you're in per day.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Mike Kasoy, he's graduated, but usually he was the one that suffered from this.
With guys having to make weight, how do team meals set up for a road trip?
However Coach Pop wants it. If myself and the athletes had our choice, we'd probably do Panera a lot, but Pat doesn't like Panera. So we usually go with mom and pop places. And before competition, it's always chicken parm, veggies, and pasta. We have a guy here in Raleigh, just a guy. I text him. I don't even have his last name in my cell phone, and he shows up every time with it. And then when we're traveling, I kind of look for not chain restaurants and order again chicken parm, veggies, and pasta.
I will say, if Panera wants to be a sponsor, we'll still accept sponsorship, even if we don't order with Panera.
I have it to where, like, Panera sometimes will deliver straight to the bus. If we were, like, stopped at a YMCA working out, like, in the middle of a long bus trip, And it's amazing.
That is a question. I've traveled with you guys on some long bus trips. I know the answer to this, but I want you to say, whose decision is it to stop at every YMCA on the East Coast?
I think it's Pat's. We kind of look for a halfway stop at YMCA and Whole Foods for hot bar lunch. Just P card swipe it, and we know what YMCAs to go to and not go to. So if you need any recommendations, I got you.
So with so much work having to be done before we even leave Raleigh, are you able to relax a little bit, actually watch a duel or tournament, or are you just running around kind of waiting for us to leave?
Home duels, I'm able to watch them because I have all my girls there helping out. The managers are absolutely amazing. Away trips, it varies. Like this last time in Boone, I missed part of one match because I met the caterer outside and set up the food down in the team room. But sometimes if I have to go and pick up food, I miss a complete duel, like at journeyman duels and everything. But tournaments, Midlands, I was there the whole entire time.
Yes, but what were you doing the whole entire time?
Either reading my book or sleeping. I don't know. I don't know how my mom did it for like 20 years sitting in the stands. Props to you, mom and dads, who sit out in the stands during those tournaments for like 16 hours. It breaks me. I can't do it. I'm going to have to make my kids play soccer or something. There's no way I'll be able to sit in that gym.
You were a college wrestler yourself. You're still very big into growing women's wrestling, not only nationally, but here in North and South Carolina. How happy were you to hear that Presbyterian will start the very first D1 women's program in a couple of years? That's
very exciting. I know that so much hard work has been put in behind the scenes from various individuals and groups to promote and grow women's wrestling, and for it to finally come out at a D1 school is huge. I remember when I was looking for schools when I was coming out of high school, and there was only 5 options for me, and now there's over 30 universities offering scholarships to females. So when I coach on the high school level, I always tell the parents and the girls, you may love soccer and volleyball, but you'll get a scholarship for women's wrestling. I almost guarantee it.
Now, this last part might drive you crazy because you actually wanted to see the questions before I was asking you today.
Yes.
So getting you a little off here, we do 7 quick questions with our guest. Just answer with the very first thing that pops in your head. Favorite cardio machine?
Elliptical.
Favorite class you took in college?
I don't know. I don't remember many classes from college, I don't think.
This is for student athletes. So.
Okay, yeah. I think I'll probably do applied anatomy. I was really good at that one.
Your go-to restaurant or coffee shop in Raleigh?
That's Cup of Joe. I don't even have a choice on that.
I was going to say.
Every Tuesday morning.
The NC State wrestler that can crack you up even after a long day of travel?
Oh, man. I don't think that's any of them after a long day of travel. I think Bo Donahue. I don't know. Maybe it's the mustache or his humor is, you can't help but laugh.
Favorite city that wrestling has allowed you to travel to?
Paris was pretty cool. We went out there this summer to watch, but Madrid was really cool also.
NC State wrestler you would ask for help with homework if you were still in school?
Sean or Malikian. They have their own little desk in my office. They come in rotations and study.
Now, granted, we have already took a bus trip to Charlotte, took a bus trip to Boone, but what will you be streaming on the next long bus trip?
I don't stream. I put my headphones in, sometimes without music, and just sleep the whole time.
So just so no one will even ask you a question.
Yeah, I do. Yes.
Well, Melissa, thanks for taking the time with us. You gave us a little behind-the-scenes look. I think you only checked your phone for text or emails a few dozen times. Now we'll let you get back to work. And with that, we wrap up episode number 5 of the Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast. If you have missed any previous episodes, just go back into our archives and give a listen. I want to thank everybody for listening today. This is your Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast covering all things NC State wrestling. Until next time, Wolfpack fans, go Pack!
Mentality Pop-Ins podcast is produced by the Mat Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, go to MatTalkOnline.com.